Hello everyone, it's great to be with you again today in our fall card series. I have done so many of them, I'm calling them a series now. This is an exciting card. It's a decoupage card using a napkin, and we start out with the cardstock and the dimensions shown. I'm using black because it goes with the napkin and just complementary colors to the napkin. I'm also using our distressed inks. I've used these inks, the aged mahogany and the fossilized amber, a lot in almost all of the fall cards that I've done this year. And I will be using matte gel in order to decoupage the tissue paper onto the cardstock. You could also use a Mod Podge or any other type of glue if you don't have the matte gel or the matte medium. Carefully pick the top layer of the napkin off. You do only want to use one layer of the napkin. It takes a little bit of time to pull them apart, but there are usually more than one layer. And you're going to make two of these cards with the napkin on it. One to cut up into your shapes that we'll be using toward the end of the card, and one to decoupage on as the top layer in the base of our card. Here I am just trying to get these apart, being a little careful so I'm not ripping them and going through multiple napkins. Now I'm taking the gel medium and literally putting it on the card base. You could actually use any color card bases. This is going to be covered up, so any scrap you have. I'm using cream because I had the scrap piece of cream. It really doesn't matter unless you have a napkin that you're using that has more of a transparent background, and then you'll want to use a complementary color, obviously. The gel is down on the first piece of paper. And I have found that laying the cardstock on top of the tissue paper and using a credit card, or I'm using my Costco card here, works much better than placing the tissue paper on top of the cardstock, because you do not want to have a lot of wrinkles. You want to have a smooth surface, and it is tissue paper. It's very, very delicate at this point, especially as what it is when you're using the gel medium. I'm drying it real quick as much as I can. I do set this aside while we're doing the other elements to have it thoroughly dry before we start working and putting our embellishments on top of it. Carefully cut along the edge. Again, it rips really easy at this point. It's still quite wet, even though I dried it with the heat gun. Trimming up the edges, and then we'll set this aside. After it's dried, we're going to cut out some of the pieces to use as part of our embellishment. So we do two cards this way. And bring in another piece of cardstock. It could be any size you want, as long as you can just lay the tissue paper on it and have enough to cut out the images that you want from the piece that you've already made. Okay, this is going to dry a little bit, and we're going to work on a base that this will sit on. So this will be the card, the base, and then the decoupage piece. The base is going to just show around the edge, so you'll see here where I'm not focused on covering the entire card with our distressed inks. I just want to get a good base around the edges, about a quarter of an inch around the entire card and the edges. I start with a lighter color. As you'll see going on further down, I'm going to spray this with water. I want that droplet water kind of textured effect on the card. I love that effect. I use water and mixed water with a lot of the paints, whether it's acrylic, distress, or actually watercolor. So I want to put the lighter color on the bottom. Some of that will bleed through as we spray it. and then we'll go through and put the mahogany. One of the things with these distress paints is you really need to just lightly go over and continually go over. You do need to have a lot of patience with the distressed inks if you want to have depth of color. I like the depth of color that they bring to a piece. So I'm going over this probably 5 or 6 times. I've sped it up quite a bit here. Really with the aged mahogany, I've gone around the piece 3 times, I believe 3 or 4 times, and 3 or 4 times with the fossilized amber. I have a little spray bottle of water, just I think it was from the dollar store, just a real cute little bottle of water that I keep on hand, and it has a nice spritz that comes out, and it does, you'll see here in a minute how it gives that watered look around the edge, and I think that's one of the things that pull this card together the most. Our piece is dry now, with the decoupage piece is dry, so I am cutting out the shapes that I want to use. I speed through this so you don't have to sit and watch me cut. The one thing I did want to mention here though is to leave that 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch black or whatever color your background is around the images, almost as if you were going to die cut the image. I did take quite a bit of time cutting these out to make sure that they were smooth edges and equal around, as this is the focal point to the card itself. I cut a lot of these off camera. You'll see here in a minute, I think I've cut way more than what I needed, but we'll save them for another project. Wanted to have a good amount that I could put together as I was designing the embellishments on the card. Trimming up the edges, and we're almost ready to put this card together. I was real happy how it came out. I have a piece of gauze type ribbon that I'm going to put as a border around the decoupage piece, and I'm using tacky glue to make sure that that adheres well because it is a fabric type ribbon. You could actually even use the gauze pads and cut a strip out here. They would look nice too. The first aid gauze pads, I use those in a lot of my projects. Using the tape runner here and sticking the decoupage piece onto the base that we've made. And I hope you can see how the background, the aged mahogany and the fossilized amber in the background we created just pops this card off the page. It looks amazing. I don't even think, as usual, it does not look as good on camera as I think it does in person, just because the colors are more vibrant. Now it's time to put our internal piece in. Because this is a black dark background, I do put a piece of white cardstock or cream cardstock, a lighter cardstock, so that whomever uses the card or receives it has a nice finished inside to the card and an area where you can write a sentiment or grading of your choice. I think that's a good touch that finishes the card off as well. We're going to make our sentiment piece. I'm going to do a simple embossing, again with a cheap stamp that I have. I tend not to spend a lot of money on stamps. I find them whenever and wherever and make them work for the piece. You'll see here, because the stamp is not of the highest quality, I did need to fill it in a little bit, and I'll show you how I did that. We're using our Perfect Medium by Ranger, and I'm using Inkadinkado. I think it is a white linen. I'll show it here on screen in a second as soon as this is stamped. White linen embossing powder. And it ties in with kind of the chalk white around the edges of the leaves that we're putting together here. I go over it a couple of times, and then I'm going to use a small paintbrush just to make sure I don't have any little pieces on, because it is quite a black background. I don't want to have any pieces in the sentiment of embossing powder that I don't want there. I'm going to go ahead and emboss this up. And you can see where the hello has little breaks in it, and we're going to fix that. I'm going to show you how to fix that in a minute. It's a pretty quick fix, and you can't even tell the difference. What I'm going to use for that is my Jelly Roll, my white Jelly Roll pen, because I'm using linen embossing powder, and the Jelly Roll pen dries with the same type of glaze that the embossing powder has, pretty much. Here's the Jelly Roll pen in white, and we are going to just go over those little areas that it missed. Again, this is because the stamp is not of the highest quality. If you have really high quality stamps, you probably won't have that issue. It is nice to know how to fix it though. We're going to arrange the leaves around and start embellishing the card. We'll use our sentiment here. I'm just working on the arrangement, kind of what's pleasing to the eye. I knew I wanted to use the acorn in the corner, and that little orange leaf brought everything together. Just putting this down with a tacky glue. Again, I'm using tacky glue as opposed to my glue dots or any other type of glue because we have a fabric backing. The glue tape, the glue dots do not stick as well to the fabric backing, or if you have glittered backing. So I pull out my Aleene's craft glue, tacky glue, which I love. It holds very well. We're going to pop the acorn up with our foam tape. This is a double layer of foam tape to give some dimension to the acorn as it comes off from the page. And we'll place our final little orange leaf there. Had a great time making this card. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and have fun crafting any way that you can. Please subscribe for more videos. If you have a comment, leave them below, and like the video. Have a beautiful day, everyone.